Yes, great. So welcome to the GIMI think tank. As you know, every Wednesday at 9 a.m. EST time, we have our GIMI think tank session, which is basically a platform where we promote and put in the spotlight interesting speakers, powerful entrepreneurs, and people who are doing social impact and driving innovation around the world. This is a platform where we talk about the innovation state of a country, of a continent, cutting edge trends, breakthrough innovation solutions, innovation management tools, or GIMI programs around the world, and how our partners or potential partners are basically developing innovation and advancing innovation mindset across individuals, organizations, companies, governmental institutions. So this time, we'll have Joshua in the spotlight. He is the founder of Enterprising Africa Regional Network. His background is a mining engineer, but he is a serial entrepreneur, business coach, and mentor based on South Africa. He has founded EARN, which is the acronym for Enterprising Africa Regional Network, which is a purpose and impact-driven organization. I would say he has focused right now his life on doing impact and basically developing successful entrepreneurs focused on the indigenous African youth and creating this new generation of entrepreneurs to increase levels of employment and prosperity for South Africa. We will talk about entrepreneurial spirit, but also the innovation mindset, how they are developing this mindset to these young entrepreneurs, what are the directions they are giving in terms of these enterprises, or which are the areas with mostly, let's say, the potential to be grown. So we'll hear more from Joshua. Joshua, please feel free to add more in your introduction. Hopefully I did a good job introducing you, even though your CV is very extensive. The floor is yours. You are on mute. You can.
Let me share with you my screen. Okay. Okay. Can everyone see?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I'll present it more like more of a fire chart, and then we can take it from there. And so the way I look at innovation is that sometimes when you want to solve global problems, so the solutions sometimes are quite simple. Let's take an example of those that were born in my time. I don't know if you remember this. When you used to travel, you know, it was very backbreaking, and then someone was tired of carrying such heavy luggage, and all he did was add wheels. And it wasn't rocket science, but those two wheels have changed the way it has changed the way we travel nowadays. So sometimes when we are looking for solutions, sometimes we just need to find those two wheels. And the second thing is that when you want to be successful in everything that you want to do, you first of all have to have a purpose. But it shouldn't be any purpose. You must have a massive transformative purpose, or MTP, something that was coined by Salim Ismail of Open Exco. And the MTP is your meaning in life, meaning that first it's massive, meaning it's something that you are excited about. So if you start something and you can finish it in your lifetime, then it's not massive. So you have to, it has to be massive that you can leave it behind, but you need to create people that are going to continue where you left off. And it must be transformative, meaning that it's going to change the world in a way that you are proud of, and that it must be purposeful, meaning that it ignites the sort of emotional energy within you. Because when you are dealing with the world global challenges, sometimes it can be so daunting that you feel like giving up. But if you've got a very strong MTP, it pushes you forward even when you want to give up, because it ignites that sort of emotional energy within you. And so with us, with an MTP, you do what you do in life, not necessarily for money, but because you want to make a positive impact to society and create a better world. And that's what we do. So in our case, when we saw that the unemployment was going up in our country, particularly among the youth, we realized that our education system, because it teaches people to be employees and not entrepreneurs, is you ended up having so many people coming out of colleges and universities, but they don't have anywhere to go. So we thought that the best thing that we can do is to create people that create jobs in order to deal with issues of employment. So we created Enterprising Africa Regional Network. And the acronym is EN, which is very fitting, because by enterprising Africa, you enable people to earn for themselves instead of waiting for handouts. And the flip side to that is that we say to our young people is that you got everything within you and that no one owes you anything. So if you want anything, you have to earn it. But in order to train people, you have to train them into something that you are good at yourself, because people don't listen to what you say, they listen to what you do. So by them seeing what you do, they will do the same. So even if we got, and that we've created a number of our own business entities. Currently in 8 years, we've created about 5 business entities, and 2 of those in agriculture. So we create twins. So like in agriculture, we've got the African Agripreneurs, which is we use for training people and developing them. And we've got AG Horticulture, which is a commercial entity, and we supply most of the supermarkets with fresh produce and so on. But despite all these things, our MTP still remains, and that is we are there to develop the African youth into successful entrepreneurs that would grow profitable and sustainable businesses to increase levels of employment and prosperity, because that's the only way that we're going to deal with the global problems. So the same challenges we have here, I know wherever you, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, you may be facing the same challenges that we face here as far as the youth are concerned. And so we operate in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And so we chose goal number 2 of zero hunger. And the reason for that is particularly on our continent, agriculture is the main employer, particularly in rural areas. And secondly, you want to have food security. Because as you know, the global population is growing. It's estimated that by 2030, you have about 8.5 billion people, and by 2050, you have 9.7 billion people. Of that, 2.5 billion will be from Africa, and 65.5 million will be from South Africa. So food production must be increased up to 60% and be distributed more efficiently to feed every mouth. But we've got challenges. One of them is because of climate change, we got a shortage of water. So we need to find better ways of growing food with less water, and also find ways of conserving water in one way or another, in order for us to be able to grow more food with the limited resource that we have. And so in our case, for instance, when we started here, this is what we had. And we didn't have much water, but we did the survey and we found a few places where we could do drill, and we did that. And we found we had good water in 3 out of 6 boreholes, and we equipped those. But even then, it wasn't enough. So you had to change the cultivation methods. So everything we did was drip irrigation. And with the little water that you had, you were able to grow more food. But even then, we found that during the dry season, we found that you had challenges where the water used to deplete quickly, so you couldn't use all your growing areas. And so we decided to use the infrastructure we have to capture the water. So you see that in between the greenhouses, we created those channels that we've lined, and we're able to capture that water. And with that enough surface area, so we capture water from all here and from that roof. And there's a big pipe here. We take it. We've got a 4 million liter pond there. And that water now we can bring it into this 350,000 reservoir. It comes here, and you're now able to use that. So you can do that even in rural areas by creating areas where you can capture water during the time that you got the rain season, so that when the rain is gone, you still have enough water for you to continue growing your food. And so that's the first thing that we have. The second thing that we have is we harvest the sun, so we generate our own power. So we got more power that we generate than we can consume. So we want to put some of it into the grid. And that I'll show you later is our next, we are now going into aquaponics, and I will show you later what we are doing in there. So the second thing that is the challenge as far as food production is concerned is skilled farmers. While the population is growing, you find that young people seem to be shunning agriculture because they see it as old-fashioned and back-breaking. So you have to make agriculture attractive. And so we do that by we've gone into modern agriculture with the high levels of technology. So the second thing is we are all born geniuses, but we only show our genius if we're in our natural space. So while we are saying that young people shun agriculture, it's not all young people. You need to select them more effectively so that you get the best people that can succeed in agripreneurship. So we use a very competitive selection process, and using through our our agriculture training business unit, we bring them to our place where we expose them to modern technologies and proven best practices. And we also have developed a 360-degree program, because most of these programs are disjointed. Sometimes you got just training, and once people have been trained, you just dump them on the street. So there's no exit plan. So we looked at the deficiencies within our current training systems, and we thought, let's have it as a 360-degree program so that we take them from training up to the market. So we get the people that we've selected very carefully and competitively. We bring them to our place. We give them practical technical skills training, and we give them business skills training. But what is important is with us is we identify land where you are going to place them, because one of the challenges we have with our development programs is we don't have an exit plan. And so we want to make sure that when people finish, we know where we are going to place them. And while they're in here, we look at that land, and we do an initial development plan where we look at the weather conditions, we look at the soil conditions and quality, we look at the availability of water, quantity and quality. With that, we know what we can grow there, and we bring that information to them so that they can develop a bankable business plan. With that, then they can use that to get funding, because we are dealing with entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs don't go around with a begging bowl. Entrepreneurs learn to find their own resources, and we train them to learn to do that. Because with the funds now, you can use that to put up farming infrastructure and facilities. They can use that for farming supplies. They can use it to pay the coaches and mentors, and also for business support services. And we also want them to be certified for technical standards. For instance, both our firms are Global Gap certified, which means we can sell to high value market, including export. And you want to put up sorting and processing and packaging facilities, and then also access to market and logistics. So it becomes a 360-degree program. And it's a 12-month program, 3 months intensive. The Activate is 3 months. So about 20 to 30% in class and 7 to 80% in the field. And in the next 9 months, they practice that practically in the field, where they rent the farming facilities, and they actually grow as if they are running their own businesses, and they record everything from cost to revenue and everything in between. And we also, they interact with the market, they interact with the suppliers of infrastructure and so on and so forth, because whatever they learn during the Accelerate is what they are going to do when they're settled on their own land. And so those are the 3 phases of Activate, Accelerate, where you can see those are some of our students where they are able to grow high quality crops, which they sell through our marketing channels, and then afterwards they are put on their own land. So if you got a program of that nature, and you got an intake every quarter, and you have it for 5 years, it means if you get 10 people every quarter, in 5 years, you can have about 200 agripreneurs, and if each of them can employ at least 50 people, you are guaranteed 10,200 jobs in 5 years. If you got 1 stream, if you got 2 streams, it will be double that. If you got 3 streams, it will be triple that. And so we work with the industry partners, because you want to give the young people real world experience. And all those boxes that I showed you, we got people that occupy each one of those boxes who are part of our team members. Apart from the Agripreneur Development Program, we got other programs like graduate placement specialist. And so in terms of innovation, so the specialist program would be very good for innovation, because that's where you try on a number of new things, new methods, new technologies, new machinery, and all that. And then we've got a number of other short courses. So we got the 2 farms ourselves. We got this one here where I am, which is an 8.5 hectare farm. And this is where we grow fresh produce. And this is also where we do all the training. And then this is the aquaponics that we have just started now. And we will do a number of trials to see how we can adjust a number of parameters between fish and growing from anything from pH to temperatures to EC and so on and so forth, and see which conditions would be best for both. And so because of the high technology involved in there, we find that young people get so much excited about being part of that. And that's something that so we got here we use the one type of fertigation station, and this can you can use this can supply about 96 stations, each one of these. But because we're using them for training here, we've got 2 lines. One is for hydroponics, one is for in soil, and it's easy to switch from one line to the other because we've got 2 separate independent units, and the guys are able to program all these themselves, and you can program each growing area separately, depending on what you're growing in there. And then we've got a 100-hectare farm about 50 kilometers from here. We used to grow chrysanthemums, and we were the top 4 producers of chrysanthemums in the country. But we are moving from there now. We are going full-time into food, there we use a Jabeco system, and this is a South African developed system that we use for both fertigation as well as controlling the environment. Because on our 100-hectare farm, we got fully equipped and controlled multi-span greenhouses, and we can control the temperature and maintain it throughout the year. So which means we can grow anything continuously, non-stop. And also we use a farm management system. And so when I'm here, I'm able to see what's happening both on this farm and the other farm from the palm of my hand, using either your cell phone or on the computer. And so all these things that we put in there are there to help the people to get more excited, so that the agriculture should be the first point of call and shouldn't be the last resort. And we also have business management monitoring systems, and we develop these ones ourselves as well. And so we the SETAs in South Africa, we've got the Sector Education Training Authority. So each sector has got a SETA, and in agriculture we got the agri-SETA. And so in order for you to be allowed to train, you have to be certified for that, which we are. And also in terms of production, commercial production, we are Global Gap certified. And long term, we are looking at going through the full value chain, and we have already started working on that. One of the challenges we have on the African continent is that we tend to sell raw products, and as a result, you don't get the full value. And so it's important for us to make sure that we go from the raw product up to the finished product that we can sell worldwide, and that has to be done by our young people, and they can share with their fellow young people across the world. And so that's the frozen somewhere. Let me just.
We talk about.
So that's the so through these initiatives of this nature, if we work together as a collective, I believe that we can end world hunger while increasing levels of employment and prosperity in our lifetime. Because if you look at Africa, you find that we got all the natural resources. So what we are lacking is not really resources. What we need is the management of the resources. And so our aim is to create people that can manage the resources, and by so doing, we should be able to have a prosperous continent that would be able to feed the global growing population. And I like I'll end with this clip that I like a lot about why we are on the planet, and what God had in mind when He created us, because that's what we should do if we are going to make a better world. And so I'll leave you with this.
Talk about management. Now, in your book, you said 7 ways to management practice. Give me just some. Pastor Benny, first of all, I believe that the reason God created man was for management. I've never heard it put that way. When I read the Bible, people normally think of a different Bible. Let me read what was on God's mind. And I think this will help you going through this economic crisis. In the book of Genesis, I'm going to show you a verse you want to see. Me too, until I found it. It says in Genesis chapter 2, it says, when the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, no shrub of the field had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprung up. Why? Because the Lord God had not allowed it to rain on the earth. Why? Because there was no man who managed. Now, that's a verse you and I never saw. This is powerful to me. First of all, God had a beautiful climate, but He didn't allow anything to grow, nothing to spring forth, nothing to emerge, nothing to prosper, because there was no managers. Okay, a few things I learned from this. Number one, God will never allow growth where there is no manager. Wow. So instead of praying for things of God, pray for management. Secondly, God will withhold didn't withhold things. It said he didn't allow it to rain. Yeah. Because there was no man to manage the results. So the next verse says, and therefore God formed the man from dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils breath of life. In other words, God had a different planet. No life was on it. Why? Because he first needed a manager. Normally we ask people, why did God create man? Our answer, to worship God. That's not what he said. He needed a manager. I have so the number one motivation for God creating man is management. Whatever you mismanage, that's why management is so important in this process. Whatever you do not manage. In other words, God will never give you what you pray for. He will only give you what you pray for. You pray for a new house, and God looking at the apartment and trying to so he only gives you what you've proven you can manage. Some people get jealous of your ministry, but they don't understand the machinery behind this ministry to manage all the necessary. And the day you mismanage this ministry, you will lose capital. If you mismanage your body, you lose. If you mismanage your marriage, you lose. If you mismanage your children, you lose them. If you mismanage your money, it goes away. When you mismanage things, you lose them. And so in crisis is a result of mismanagement. And the way you correct the crisis is management.
So one thing I like about GIMI is that we are trying to create managers through the programs that you have in terms of innovation and so on, because that's what is missing. And if we can do well in that, then we can deal with the resources we have, because God has given us all the resources that are readily available, but it requires someone to manage them, someone to create something out of what we already have. And that's what excites me about the GIMI is that we are trying to do exactly that, because that's how we are going to create a better world. So that's what I wanted to share with you, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Joshua. If you can, okay, great. So basically, first of all, in the meantime, everybody can ask questions. If you can raise your hand. I think, thank you very much. Very inspiring, very challenging, the journey you have undertaken. And I like that you see everything with optimism, that whatever resources you have to manage. And it doesn't require only entrepreneurship, but it requires also innovation. In a way how you can manage this basically in a different way than others. First of all, I would say I'd like to start with a question. I have seen many countries putting the emphasis in the entrepreneurship in order to increase employment rates, and it makes sense that South Africa is doing this. But taking into consideration how difficult it is, and not everybody succeeds, and we know the rates, not everybody can be an entrepreneur, despite the training that you can give to them and the opportunities. Second, having into consideration the shortage of resources that South Africa has, so it becomes even more challenging right now. So taking this into consideration, how much is the success rate of the entrepreneurs that you are growing, and what do you do, to increase the success rate and the chances so they can succeed in the market?
I think, as I showed you in that model that we have, because it's 360-degree, is that you don't dump them on the street. We help them with the land, so we know where they're settled, because we help them acquire the land. We know how they're performing, because we are helping with the markets. And so they remain in the network, and also they can share ideas among themselves. because entrepreneurship, as you've rightly said, it's very, very difficult. When you're on if you are to be on your own, you won't succeed. But when you are with others and they share with you the challenges they go through and how they have overcome them, it makes things not easy, but it makes things more bearable. And you know that if someone has managed, you can manage as well. But if someone else has got good ideas, you can share those ideas in terms of how they succeeded. And if you got a good idea that helped you succeed, you can share it with someone else. Because we got a saying in Africa that if you want to go fast, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So it's only when you work as a collective that you can go far.
This is our mantra as well as GIMI, together we can. So you need partners, networks, and teams to innovate. So that's great, Joshua. Okay, anybody else who has a question?
This is Ron Jonash. I have a question about how the different models you may have looked at for scaling this up across South Africa and the rest of Africa. We did a big project with HALT. It was called the HALT Innovation Olympics, and it was the subject. The theme was food insecurity, and we had like I don't know, 50 or 100 different university teams competing to come up with solutions to food insecurity, largely in Africa, but all of it in underdeveloped economies with high levels of unemployment. One of the things that came up was one model is to develop these hubs where people work and learn the skill and maybe go out and learn it well enough to build a collective with others and start their own kind of like-minded and equipped facility. But another one is that we did in Brazil after this project was essentially to develop modules that could be picked up by individual subsistence farmers. So small scale versions of hydroponic greenhouses. In the case of Brazil, it was more about chickens and eggs and chicken coops, but also they looked at hydroponics. Was that part of did you look at the potential for doing it at more of a micro scale and building collectives that were virtual collectives supported by people who had their own mini operations, but they were coordinated in terms of what crops to produce so that they could all get to market efficiently, whether it was a local market or a foreign market? Did you look at that, or do you do any of that? What's your pitch regarding kind of distributed collectives?
That's what we are looking at now in terms of scaling, is to create a hub similar to what we have here, where so say suppose you could say about a 10 or 20 hectare plot, and within there you can have both commercial agriculture, so and you got training facilities as well. And the reason we do that is because we want these hubs to be self-sustaining. By having a commercial component, it means that if they need any assistance, they will be given assistance once, and after that they become self-sustaining. So the same facilities that you are using for commercial production, you use them for training, and it does two things. First of all, it gives you regular income. Secondly, it gives the people the facilities for practical training of the people that you have. And thirdly, you can use the same facility to support smallholder farmers. So the agripreneurs that we develop, we want them to be commercial farmers, but they become like a nucleus that can help the smallholder farmers to be supported, because they can bring their stuff to the central hub for sorting, processing, and packaging, and also for that to be marketed more effectively. And
are you looking at locations in or adjacent to urban slums or not? Are you looking more rural locations?
No, we are looking at both. when we developed this program, it was for the city, and the reason for that was that people were complaining that every time they sent young people to the rural areas, they were always coming back to the city. And so our question was, why do you send them to the rural areas? Why don't we develop some growing methods that are suitable for the city, so that we can give the city youth an opportunity to participate in agriculture, but at the same time, you want to go into rural areas and have a similar program there, so that those people don't come to the city. So you need to do both, because that's the only way that you can it to be sustainable.
Well, and it seems to me the focus on collectives, which, as Arila said, is our kind of center of our mission, to enables you, if you could connect these both micro businesses and larger scale commercial enterprises, you build this collective network that is able to spread the training and experience and positive results kind of across the community and the broader community. So I applaud what you're doing, and hopefully you'll continue to be successful.
Thank you.
Joshua, another question I have in the meantime that maybe others are thinking is, what other sectors are you trying to direct these entrepreneurs beside agriculture? And where do you see their interest mostly? Because one thing is directing and orienting them in the sectors where country has more potential. And the other thing is their interest, might be, I don't know, embarking in an entrepreneurial journey in IT, or might be robotics. So how do you match this interest, and what are the other areas that you are trying to orient them?
Let me share what I had with you again. You see that I showed the three sectors. So what we have is so NBs, that's business solutions that we use that just to support the entrepreneurs as well as our businesses. So everything from HR to finance to everything else is done within NBs solutions. The next one that we have is African technopreneurs. That's for the technology. So at the moment, we operate commercially within the technology space. We focus on AR, VR. So we supply most of the VR, AR equipment, both 360-degree cameras as well as headsets, plus all the accessories. And the whole idea is to develop young people within the technology space. So it may go beyond VR, AR, but that's another one sector that we focus on. And the other one on the African lakeside properties, currently we are in property, but we want to go into hospitality. One of the things that we are in the process of doing at the moment, I just acquired about 200-hectare land very close to the city. And we want to create a smart village. And within the smart village, you want it to be self-contained. So it means you produce your own water, you produce your own power, you produce your own food, and so on and so forth. But within there, you want to have a portion of that to be hospitality, whether it's tourism, whether it's restaurants, and so on and so forth. So that's another area. So we've got the three areas. So as I said, we've got twins. So at the moment we've got the commercial agriculture, we've got training. We'll have commercial technology and training. We'll have commercial hospitality and training. So we've decided just to focus on the three areas, and others, once they see how well this is doing for us, other people with their other capabilities can develop their own programs similar to ours in other sectors. But for us, we're just focusing on the three sectors.
One other question that maybe I missed it in your presentation, but as I said, in the kind of assignments that we've worked on in the past, whatever you call it, the cold supply chain, the trucking distribution of particularly produce that's grown hydroponically in these greenhouses or florals or whatever is really critical. Do you have your own distribution network and trucks and refrigeration, storage, et cetera, or do you depend on others? How do you deal with that issue?
We got both. We got some of our own trucks, but we tend to hire the balance from others. Because see, if you want to solve global grand challenges, you cannot do it on your own. So you need to get others to come in so that you can work together. You are muted, Ronald.
But is the cold supply chain in your service areas adequate in terms of both storage and distribution trucks, et cetera, that you can find suppliers?
Yes, because we supply to the major supermarkets, and they have got their own distribution centers. So all we do ourselves is just logistics, getting stuff from our pack houses to the distribution centers, and then they will distribute to the rest of the country themselves. So, yeah, that's what we do.
So this is all foods or flowers or whatever for local consumption then?
That's correct, yeah. Yeah. And the long term, that's why we want to go into the full value chain, because long term you want to have it for both local consumption, but you also want for export, because we are a global village. We are connected, and so if we succeed and we can supply the global village with all the food requirements, then everyone wins. We've seen what happened when the Russian war started. That's when we realized that much of wheat comes from Ukraine, and when the war started, finally we found that the prices for bread went up, and so if you got alternative areas where you can grow similar food products, it means that we will maintain the prices of food as low as possible, because we need to give people affordable food, because it is a right, and we in order for us to survive, we have to eat.
Okay, there is one question from Julie. Julie, feel free to ask.
Hi, Joshua, thank you for the presentation. You've mentioned a bit about collaborations and partners, such as GIMI being able to be a collaborator to fill in an innovation hole, or even talking about, like hiring trucks and things. Can you talk a little bit more of the kind of collaborations and partners you're looking for or have, and what you find are the biggest challenges and what are the biggest successes in those collaborators? Because we've got a very wide range of folks, on this call, and your answer may provoke some answers for us. Yeah,
because you see, like for instance, at the moment, we work, as I said, we work with a lot of industry partners, and each one of them have got different capabilities. Within that group, we got some people that are good with funding. They are funding partners. We've got people that are good with infrastructure, so they help supply most of the infrastructure and also teach our young people how to install or to maintain and so on. You've got some that are good with marketing. So the areas where we distribute, they also are part of the people that train the guys, so that the guys understand what happens when you send the stuff, say, to a distribution center. How does it move from yourself to the end user and so on? So we are able to take them for excursions, and they go through the whole chain. They can see this is what we do when the stuff comes in, this is where it goes, and this is how we patch it, and this is how it is taken out of the distribution center to the various consumer centers and so on. And so that is in terms of looking at the food space, but also in terms of technology. If we look at what we are doing now, say with our aquaponics, we may start working on that, and we may have certain questions, and someone else within this group may be in that space as well, and they'll be able to say, look, we have tried this is what works better, why don't you try it? So
Mhm.
and if we've got some of the things that we've developed ourselves that we can share with some of the members, we're able to say, look, this is what we're doing here. Can this work in your area as well? So that's a kind of collaboration that you look at, because you and also in terms of how you deal with the people development, because you need to look at both high tech and high touch. So high tech is hard skills, and high touch soft skills, because the people that you work with, the people that you develop, need to have both in order for them to succeed.
Have you done any kind of collaborations going back to universities and academics and that area?
We got the Agriculture Research Council part of our members. So if you look at that group that we had the 2 members from the Agriculture Research Council. University of got a partnership with the University of Pretoria, University of South Africa, and Stellenbosch University. And we think that we can bring other people, other higher institutions of learning on board as well, because you need to. We are more on the ground in terms of the practical applications, and you need high institutions of learning where you can continue to do research and development and so on, which you can bring into the real world to practice and see how it works better, because we need to have constant improvement in what we're doing in order for us to succeed going forward, because the challenges that we face in the world keep on becoming more and more challenging. And you want to get a group of people that keep on looking at new ways of doing things to be abreast with the challenges that we face.
So Joshua, one other thing you may want to add to your library if you get a chance. I don't know how much you can get, but there were these challenges that I mentioned with the Hult Prize. There was $1 million prize each year that was offered by the Hult Foundation and President Clinton for the winner. So it was quite extensive in terms of the number of university teams that participated within each geographic region, and then globally, and then the whole kind of coaching and all that. So there were 3 that you may be interested in getting, because there were hundreds of submissions and teams that tried to work with their university to provide solutions. One was food insecurity, which is right in your sweet spot. The other was water. And all of this was kind of urban slums in Asia and Africa, and maybe a little bit Latam. But it was focused on urban slums, focused on concentrations of people without jobs, et cetera. So water was one, food insecurity was one, and energy was largely photovoltaics and wind, but it was energy solutions that would work at the village level or in urban slums. So some of the work that was done in that, it's dated, it's probably 5 years old or so, but it was still collected globally. And I think would be a very rich resource for your organization just to have those kind of on file or in the cache, so that people, when these issues came up, whether it was water or energy or directly food, they could look at what other parts of the world were doing and quickly kind of get a download of what people were suggesting as new initiatives.
Yeah, okay. Is it possible that you can post the link in the chat?
Yeah, let me ask Arila or Laura to, it's called the Hult Prize. I don't know any longer how you actually get to them to get to their library, but it was called the Hult Prize. So you can certainly try to source them through the internet, or Laura or Arila may have contacts.
Sure, no worries, Ron. Yes, Joshua, I'll make sure that I'll send to you the material. We have another question from Cristanto from Indonesia, and he's asking actually for the business model that you are using. So how do you find this project? Do you have any support from the government, from any association? Do they pay something at some point? What's the business model you are using?
We normally work with the both government as well as the corporates. So the corporates only sponsor just the training portion, and after that, everything becomes commercial, because then you get commercial funding, you get the commercial whatever, and so on. So the only in this model, the only support you need is the first portion where we do the training. But after that, you can look at the commercial partners.
I understand. And do they pay something at some point, at least when they are established, when you continue with the support, or no, it's completely funded by either corporates, as you mentioned, or the government?
At the moment, no, but what we are looking at long term is to encourage everyone to pay forward, so that when they're successful, if they put this any percentage of what they earn into a pot, then we can use that to develop the next group that is coming. But at the moment, we are getting support from the private sector and government.